and good morning to this very august assemblage. By divine providence, our gathering today coincides with the first day of the Hebrew month of Tammuz, known as Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. In Jewish tradition, every month carries its own unique message and opportunity. Tammuz arrives with the warmth and intensity of summer. The days grow longer, the sun shines brighter, and the heart becomes more powerful. While we often think of warmth as a source of comfort, it also serves as a profound teacher. Cold causes things to become rigid. Warmth softens them. Heat allows materials to be shaped, molded, and transformed. And the same is true of people and communities. In times of tension, uncertainty, and disagreement, it is easy for hearts to become hardened and positions to become entrenched. Yet genuine progress rarely emerges from rigidity. It is born from the warmth of understanding, the willingness to listen, and the ability to recognize the dignity and humanity of those whose perspectives may differ from our own. The sages teach that the summer sun possesses a dual power. It can scorch, but it can also ripen. The very same heat that can dry the earth can also produce growth, sweetness, and abundance. The difference lies in how that energy is directed. So too, the passion, conviction, and determination that drive public service can become sources of division, or they can become forces that unite people around a common purpose. The responsibility belongs to each of us. This lesson can especially be meaningful for those entrusted with leadership. The strength of a community is not measured by the absence of difference. It is measured by the ability to transform those differences into cooperation, challenges into opportunities, and diverse voices into a shared commitment to the common good. As this new month begins, may we be blessed with the wisdom to lead, the humility to learn, and the courage to serve. May Miami-Dade County be blessed with safety and security, prosperity and opportunity, health and healing. And may our law enforcement officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, members of our armed forces, and all public servants be protected in their sacred work and return safely home to their beloved ones. And may this new month bring blessing to Miami-Dade County, to our nation, and to all humanity. And may we each do our part to transform the warmth of this season into acts of kindness, understanding, and service to others. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for those heartfelt words, and thank you again, Commissioner Steinberg, for having them out this morning. If you can all join me for the pledge. You may be seated. All right. We have a very long agenda this morning, guys, so we're going to get right into it. Thank you all. We have a packed house, so thank you all for being here. Madam Attorney, good morning.
Good morning.
Is it appropriate for us to move into reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard at this time?
Yes.
All right. So reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard is now open. I will call your name. Seeing that I have several registered to speak, you will have 1 minute to speak. I state the item on which you're speaking on, your name and address, and please be respectful of others people's time. I will start with, I'd also like to welcome some elected officials that I know we have in the chamber today. I don't know if everyone's here, but I know some City of Miami elected officials are here. I see Gavela, I see Pardo, and I see Rosado. Thank you guys for being here. And with that, actually, if you all can approach the well, you're on my list to speak, so please approach the well. Unfortunately, you won't have any preference today in this chamber, so you'll have a minute to speak, so please be respectful of other people's time. Please introduce yourself for those that don't know you, even though everyone probably knows you more than they know us, but go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Damian Pardo, and I'm the District 2 Commissioner for City of Miami. Thank you as well, Mayor, and all the commissioners. I'm here in support of the mental health center. I would like to see that pass. In our district and in the city of Miami, this is an enormous problem. Recently, we had a victim, a resident, Caitlin Desden, that was badly beaten in front of the Casella Center. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. But mental health is on our streets every day, and it is an enormous issue for law enforcement, for electeds, and for our city. So I would ask you to support this item and have a different option for people that suffer from mental health and can actually get treatment. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Oh, wow, that was great. Thank you, Commissioner.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Chairman Rodriguez, and all of the commissioners. I am Miguel Angel Gavela, representing District 1 City of Miami Commissioner, and I'm here very much in support of the Lippman Center, the mental health facility. I took a tour about a year and a half ago, and it impressed me how they had to transform the building to get ready for this. In my area, the 7th Avenue corridor, which I represent, it is very badly needed. And something like this is going to be very helpful to alleviate the homeless situation that we have going on the 7th Avenue corridor, and in my district and other districts in the city of Miami. So I am very much in support of this, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good morning, Chairman and Honorable Commissioners. Ralph Rosado. I'm the Miami City Commissioner for District 4. I'm also the Chair of the Miami Downtown Development Authority. We know that homelessness is an issue that exists in every corner of not only of our city of Miami, but our beloved Miami-Dade County as well. It's particularly concentrated in downtown Miami, which is the face of Miami-Dade to the entire world. We see it right now with FanFest and so many activities that take place. It is what the world sees, but more importantly, there are a number of souls that, because the current system lets them down, we are stuck in a vicious cycle that goes from mental illness resulting in homelessness, homelessness resulting in jail time resulting in release resulting in relapse, and relapse ultimately, in many cases, resulting in violence or worse. As Commissioner Pardo said, we had a recent brutal attack. The kind of person that did the attack is somebody who had been in and out of our jail system for many years, had done this previously. The kind of person that were the Lifeman Center opened, this probably wouldn't have taken place. And so I want to thank the chairman for putting in safeguards into this legislation. And I strongly support on both behalf of the DDA and the Miami City Commission, which has unanimously supported this measure. We really hope that you move forward and get the center open.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Sir.
Good morning, Chairman and Honorable Commissioners. My name is Jose Sanchez Rolier. I'm legal counsel for the Office of Commissioner Miguel Angel Gavela in District 1. I have been in the criminal justice system for 41 years, first as a deputy clerk, then as an attorney. The need for this center for mental health has been going on unaddressed for all this time. Judge Leifman has been working on this project since 2000, and we need this hospital. The jails are not the solution to the mental health crisis. They don't have the resources or the ability to long-term treat the mental patients and the root causes of their illnesses. So I urge you to approve this resolution and fund the mental health project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to call several of you. Just please line up on each side of the center aisles and approach the well, and please do the same. You have a minute, name and address. Gerard Van Den Heuvel, Jason Liberty, President and CEO of Royal, Phil Joe Capel, John Armbrust, George Rovirosa, Salomon Senord, Dulce Martinez, Noel Cleland, and Theophilus Williams. All right, wow. You all speaking together?
We're one, yes.
All right, so who, is it most that I just called right now?
I don't think you called them, but they're
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Jason.
all right. Well, Chair, great to see you. Commissioners, great to see you as well, and thank you, Madam Mayor. For those that don't know me, though I think most of you do, Jason Liberty, I'm the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Royal Caribbean Group. I'm here on behalf of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association and all of our member lines, and I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity for hearing us today. Just so you know who's joining me here today, we have representation from all the cruise lines, MSC Cruises, Carnival Corporation, Norwegian Cruise Line, Virgin Cruise Line, and of course FCCA as well. Just a few words for today. We all know that Port of Miami is the cruise capital of the world. It's among the many accolades that it has as being recognized for, but it's also known as the cargo gateway for the Americas. It's the busiest port in the state of Florida for international cargo. Port of Miami is the state's most important economic driver. One of the state's most, but it will one day be the state's most important economic driver. It generates $61.4 billion in annual economic activity. That's up from $41.4 billion just 10 years ago. It supports 340,000 jobs. It represents nearly 4% of Florida's GDP, and it generates $2.2 billion a year in state and local taxes. Behind those numbers are also real people whose livelihoods depend on a successful daily operation. There are nearly 30,000 direct local jobs. Cruise alone supports 45,000 jobs. Many more are tied to the people and businesses that move guests, goods, supplies, commerce through the community every single day. Also, the Port of Miami moves our economy, resulting in a ripple effect, whether that's in the hotel numbers, booked flights, taxis and ride shares, buses and vans, restaurants being filled, shops, attractions, museums, concert venues, and small businesses that are frequently being visited. Access to fuel is obviously critical for us. The current and future position of our port is precarious. Port of Miami depends on disciplined planning, reliable infrastructure, and the certainty of a port that can operate safely and efficiently every single day. Reliable fuel access is an essential component of that equation. It's not optional, it's fundamental. Maintaining that ability protects the current and future of Miami's economy.
Mr. President, sorry, I've allowed you the liberty
Yep, like it. I'm almost done.
to continue, given that I'm assuming everyone behind you is going to yielding their time.
They're all
to you.
yielding to me.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sorry about that. I'll try to read faster. If I
All
can.
right.
We need to find a pathway forward that solves safe and secure fuel bunkering for the Port of Miami. No major U.S. home port operates without fuel bunkering. The future of Fisher Island's fuel facility directly impacts Miami-Dade's future economy, from workers to small businesses to local families. We respectfully urge this commission to protect our future, and thank you very much for your time and your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. All right. Up next. I think there's more people standing than what I called, but pretty sure. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Phil Ayer. I'm living at 8962 Southwest 142nd Avenue, number 1219. I happen to be privileged and honored to be one of two congressional candidates in this room, one on the dais and one here at the podium. Congratulations, sir. I'm here to speak on behalf of what was just said about the fuel depot. The fuel depot is critical for our economy and the hundreds of thousands of jobs that derive from a good, solid fuel provision for this big industry that drives so much. The lack of planning over decades has finally come to roost, and I'm not here to cast blame, but I am here to say that because you're in the seat, you are responsible for the here and now. So I would encourage you all to take on your long-term planning responsibility and fix it. I know you're going to fix it, it's just how. And so I wish you all the wisdom in the world to do that. And I'm also here in favor of the mental health facility because here's an opportunity to look for long-term planning for what is needed in our community, and that is people who are in the system already, either pre-arrest or post-arrest, to get the support they need. That is a cost savings and health savings for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the County Commission. My name is Jorge Rovirosa. My address is 10405 Southwest 122nd Street, Miami. I am the president of Florida Stevedoring, Ferrovi Shipping, companies that have been here in existence operating for the last 65 years. We know the Port of Miami probably better than anybody in this room. We helped create this port. And not only echoing Mr. Liberty's statement, the importance of this fuel farm to our cruise industry is unsurmountable. If they decide to pull all their vessels, that home port in this port of ours, because they can't get fuel, it's going to have a devastating negative effect on the economy. You know what the numbers are. Can you imagine Miami International Airport not having fuel for their jets? It would be devastating. So I ask you to do the right thing, support the mayor who has a plan to either purchase or get this land at whatever it takes. And I ask you that on behalf of my company, as well as all the stevedoring companies, the longshoremen that derive their income from the activities at the port. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Good morning. My name is Dulce Martinez from Homestead, Florida. I'm a healthcare provider with over 30 years experience. I'm the author of a book called The Benefits of Insanity, which is about how the system fails those with severe mental illness. I'm also the daughter of a woman with schizophrenia. I know the system from every angle. As a child of a mentally ill parent, as an emergency room worker, and as an intern in corrections, I've seen firsthand how the system fails people. People with severe mental illness have a medical condition just like Alzheimer's, just like cerebral palsy. Most are nonviolent and don't belong in jail. They belong in treatment. It costs taxpayers significantly more to incarcerate someone than it does to treat them. They leave sicker than when they went in. That's not just poor policy. Locking up sick people is a disservice to taxpayers, and it's a crime against humanity, one that really needs to end today. Please vote yes on opening the center. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Good morning. My name is Joe Capo, and I am here representing the workforce, the ILA, from the Port of Miami. We have some members here from both 1416 and 1922. We represent, obviously, all the work that gets done in the Port of Miami. Over 2,500 families. You heard the numbers. You heard what happens if any cruise line leaves. But our concern is the loss of work that translates into hours. Hours turns into medical benefit loss for us and our families. So that is the key for us as the longshoremen and the workforce. The way I see it, it's the fuel farm needs to remain a Fisher Island. It's the only way that we're going to remain having our cruise and cargo companies that are with us, that are in partnership with us right now. You know, and not only us, but it affects thousands of people around the community. You might have family members that are involved, somehow have a tie with us in the Port of Miami. So one less ship is one too many. Represents millions of dollars, cruise and cargo. So having any business leave is not what we want. We want to continue having the work that we have. As a matter of fact, we want to make sure that the port continues to grow and is stable for the future so we can have more work, not less work. So we trust you. Thank you very much, Chair, Commissioners, and Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cabal. Thank you, guys. Sir?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Solomon Senod. I'm a New Vision Taxi Driver Association. The reason I'm here today to please tell you to vote for item 8GI because it's very, very important for cab drivers. At this moment, we have only Port of Miami and Miami Airport. Just like you know, since Uber came, it destroyed complètement taxi industry. But that's only place we have to make some living for our family and the drivers. Please vote yes for this item. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Sonord. Sir?
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Armbrust. I am the owner and president of Armbrust Fuel Inc. With our partner, Florida East Coast Railroad, we have a plan to build a storage facility at the Port of Miami that will hold 350,000 barrels of marine diesel with dedicated pipelines to vessel berths. This will allow a throughput of approximately 4 million gallons of marine diesel a week. That meets 16 million gallons a month, which is far more than the average monthly consumption at the port of 14 million gallons. We are prepared to do this, and we can start tomorrow with our partner, Florida East Coast Railroad. So we will bring marine diesel to the port within possibly a year. So this discussion about 10 years to correct the problem, quite frankly, isn't factual. The other thing I would like to mention in terms of eminent domain of the Transmontane facility, it's an environmental hazard.
Thank you, sir.
The facility is 79 years old.
Thank you.
Our will be state-of-the-art, brand new. Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Good morning. I'm Noel Cleland. My address is 5990 Southwest 50th Street. And I'm here as a volunteer with People Acting for Community Together in support of 14A1. And as I was going through the agenda this morning, I realized that we have a $380 million budget item for renovation of certain capital assets, $13 million for Miami Gardens redevelopment area, purchase of the Fisher Island fuel facility, $6 million for Acatus for water and sewer services, $15 million for Microsoft services, $36 million for tires and related services, $2.8 million for anti-gun violence, $19 million for Jackson employee testing, and we get to the mental health facility. So that gets me nervous. So in all the things that are on there, they're all important, I'm sure. But I hope and pray that you have the wisdom and the vision to approve this resolution so that we can offer hope to those members of our society that need our help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Alexander Ringlip, Madam Mayor, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I live at 3432 Southwest 2nd Street. I'm a resident and small business owner here in Miami, and hundreds of residents wrote me and asking you one thing: to open the health facility. On the corner of my business, a mentally ill woman gets beaten and beaten again by another mentally ill homeless individual. Weeks ago on Biscayne Boulevard, a woman walking her dog was stabbed and left partially blind by a violent mentally ill homeless man. We have nowhere to send them but to jail. Instead, our jails become now the largest psychiatric facility in Florida, the most expensive failure possible. The fix is already built. Voters already proved it. The Center of Mental Health and Recovery is finished and certified, and it's empty since 2023. Oversight is the reason to run it well, not to keep it from being locked. Vote yes for that today. The community is strongly engaging you to do so. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, sir. All right, I have Gerard Vanden Heuvel, Theophilus Williams, Geneva Claus, Jeff Agron, Steve Leifman, Sharon Frazier, Mighty V. Betancourt, Stanley Young, and Rabbi Jessica Jacobs.
Good morning. Theophilus Williams, 1391 Northwest 95th Street. For 23 years, this mental health been closed with no bodies in it. We spending $5 million a year maintaining this building. That's $115 million. Should have been going toward that. And if whoever maintain it, you need to pull it. Because I see one security guard out there, when you got county employees from corrections could be monitoring that building, and whoever cleaning it, you got county people on staff. That money should be there. And not only that, if we giving away land, we should have been selling the land for millions of dollars to help that mental health. That's the problem. Get with the developments. Don't raise our tax. Get with the developments in different cities to help y'all get this started. It can open in 30 days if you get with each agency in this county to make that a budget.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Steve Leifman, 2900 Northeast 7th Avenue. I just want to thank all of you very much, and I wave in support.
Oh, wow. All right.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Honorable Commissioners. Jeffrey Agron, 6545 Southwest 133rd Drive, Pinecrest, and I'm here with PACT, and I am speaking on behalf of Resolution 14A1 and substitute bill. This is something that affects our entire community and me personally. I have been treated for mental health issues. I've had family members who've dealt with mental health issues and addiction issues, and this is something that's sorely needed and needs to be opened immediately. Thank you for your time.
Sir.
Good morning, Chairman. My name is Gerard Vandenhoevel. My address is 635 Australia Way, which is also the address of POMTOC, which stands for Port of Miami Terminal Operating Company, which represents most of the workers that Joe was here with the ILA, as well as several of the shipping lines on the cargo side. And we are here in support of the mayor's efforts for the eminent domain and to right-size the partial size that's there. I'd like to emphasize that, as Joe mentioned also, one vessel missed is millions of dollars. And a proper fuel supply is not only for the passenger vessels. At times, the cargo vessels take bunkers as well here in Miami, which most of them call the home port of South America, which by removing the fuel or making it difficult to get via, for example, a railroad or any other way that is easily received via bunkers, bunker barges. I'd like to, again, support the mayor in our efforts in putting this resolution through. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you so much for hearing from us today. I'm Rabbi Jessica Jacobs from Temple Beth Shalom in Miami Beach, and I want to once again share my support and my community's support for the opening of the Center for Mental Health and Recovery. The Talmud, our rabbinic text, teaches us that a prisoner cannot free themselves from prison, and it talks about this within the context of someone who's suffering from mental illness. Someone cannot treat themselves. It is our job to treat the most vulnerable in our communities. So I want to thank you all for being in support of the opening of the Center for Mental Health and Recovery. This is something that our community so desperately needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Sir.
Good morning, Chairman, Mayor, Commissioners, staff, all those who showed up today to discuss this old message about this mental health facility.
Name and address.
Name and address, Chaplain Stanley Young, Freedom Prison and Jail Ministry, 500 Northwest 2nd Avenue. We need this facility open. We need it open now. We don't need to delay not one more minute of talking about this facility that needs to be open. I speak to mental health patients all week, and I have no place to send them to get the help that they need. We need this facility to be open now. We don't need no more delay. We don't need no more whatever that's slowing down the process of getting this facility open. Open this facility now. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
Hello, my name is Mariví Betancourt. I'm a sexual assault nurse, tax-paying citizen, and someone that's actually dealt with mental health issues. As an ER nurse, I know very, very well what mental health looks like. This building, while may be nice as a jail diversion, calling it mental health, it is not. All health is important. Mental, maternal, children, all of it was important. Okay, as I went through, which I looked at and I saw what exactly was it that we voted for in 2002, we voted for fixing our fire stations, fixing our police stations, okay? And I did not see anything about this mental health building. I would like to thank the commissioners that have taken the time and also have had the thought process to say, how are we gonna fund this? What exactly are we funding and what is our action plan? Okay, as a nurse, I understand how healthcare works, okay? I noticed that a lot of people came up and spoke about the young lady that was attacked. Here I have the record of the person that is accused, okay? They circled through the criminal mental health system. The criminal mental health system didn't work for him, and it didn't work for, our victims. So when we're thinking about something, let's make sure that we're also thinking about public safety, okay? Public safety. So thank you. We need that data. I very much appreciate that we came back and said, let's get the data, let's see how we're going to fund this, and let's see what we're funding as an operational plan.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mayor. My name is Sharon Frazier Stephen. I live at 6516 Northwest 12th Avenue. I live by the historical wall, Liberty City, Liberty Square housing community. This mental health facility, as I was a little girl bagging groceries on 7th Avenue at the Winn-Dixie. I don't know how many of y'all here know about the Winn-Dixie. That's how we went, and me and my brothers went and made a little money to help our mom pay for our school clothes and stuff. But walking by that facility, it was a great feeling knowing that it was some service being provided in that facilities. Number two, I'm also here in support of the port, of those gas containers in the port. Royal Caribbean has always been my cruise line that I take when I want to take a break from all of this chaos out here. Royal Caribbean I choose. I like to see the longshoremen out there working because I have family members work for ILA. They're on that union. I used to work in the restaurant downstairs. So please, Madam Mayor, thank you for your resolution, and also support the mental health facility because we're tired. There's too many people out here in front of this Stephen Peacock building. I never seen this when I came here in Miami in 1963. It is just getting worse and worse, and these people need some help. Homelessness is a mental health issue because I help feed some of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I have Geneva Claus and Mr. Ron Book. Geneva Claus and Ron Book, you could come up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Ron Book, 4000 Hollywood Boulevard, Suite 677 South, Hollywood, Florida. I'm here on behalf of the Homeless Trust today to simply say the following. Number one, we support the item. Number two, we came to the table and were asked to put some skin in the game. The agenda item contains a $1.1 million commitment, which in large part is not only for services, but for part of the overhead. We spoke to the chairman yesterday briefly about an issue that we had offered to put additional money on the table. We had offered to put $1.3 million on the table in exchange for taking the 6th floor and operating the 6th floor as transitional housing. We still remain committed to that. The chairman's substitute, I believe, that he put out late last night adds that as an option if we can reach an agreement. What the chair specifically asked was he wanted to be sure that the agreement we had negotiated with West Care contained not just use of what we're taking in the building, but contributed something to the overhead of the building as well. I told him we were prepared to have a discussion about it, but felt that the 1.3 on top of the 1.1 was in part, if you will, money towards the building itself. So in total, we are still prepared to commit not only the 1.1 in the item, but the 1.3 in addition for the 6th floor utilization. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Book. Appreciate it, and thank you for that as well. All right, that is all the speakers I have registered to speak under reasonable opportunity. So therefore, reasonable opportunity is now closed. Madam Attorney, is it in order to set the agenda at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have some changes. Item 7A, Commissioners Bermudez and Bastien would like to discuss this item when this is called. 8J1, Commissioner Regalado and Commissioner Cohen-Higgins add this item to the pull list. 8L1, this item is added to your agenda. It should have been distributed to each of the commissioners with a copy left at the dais, and Chairman Rodriguez is adding 8L1 to the pull list. 802, Commissioner Bermudez adds this item to the pull list. 8P1, Chairman Rodriguez adds this item to the pull list. 8P3, Commissioner Milian Orbis adds this item to the poll list. 8P4, Commissioner Lopez and Commissioner Regalado add this item to the poll list. 11A4, Commissioners Bermudez and Bastien are adding this item to the poll list. Items 11A9 and 11A12, Commissioner Bermudez adding these items to the poll list. 14A1 substitute and its supplement, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins is pulling this item. 14A2, this is an ordinance for first reading. I'll read this with the other first readings, but Commissioner Milian Orbis wishes to bifurcate the item when the item is called. 14A5, Chairman Rodriguez is pulling this item. 14B2, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins pulls this item. And 15B1, Commissioner Regalado is adding this item to the poll list. I also have some additional requests for co-sponsorship. 3A1, Commissioner Bermudez. 11A2, Commissioner Bermudez. 11A9, Commissioner Regalado. And 14A1 substitute, Commissioners Lopez, Bermudez, and Gilbert. All of those are co-sponsorship requests. Is there anything else? She releases it before? And Commissioner Cohen-Higgins is also pulling item 8P4. We have some additional, I read the co-sponsorships. The items to be considered at today's meeting would be those listed in the printed final agenda with the additions, deferrals, withdrawals, and scrivener's errors noted in the chairman's memorandum and the items I just mentioned. The commission will approve all of these items by a single vote setting the agenda except ordinances for first reading, public hearings, ordinances set for second reading, and the following poll list items. 8J1, 8L1, 802, 8P1, 8P3, 8P4, 11A4, 11A9, 11A12, 14A1 and its substitute and its supplement, 14A2 and 14A3 are both first reading items. I'll read those with the other first readings. 14A4, 14A5, 14B1, 14B2, and 15B1. A motion to set the agenda is in order.
All right, it's been moved by
Second.
Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor of setting the agenda with all of those changes?
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hardiman, on the agenda?
It's on the agenda, yes. I just want to be clear. 3A1 is indefinitely deferred, is that correct?
With the setting of the agenda, that'll be deferred to no date certain.
And then you also have withdrawn for 5B, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. Vice Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to make sure I'm listed as a co-sponsor for 14A1.
We will do that, and I've also received word Commissioner Steinberg would also like to co-sponsor 14A1 and its substitute.
All right, so with that, all in favor, Commissioner
Mr. Chair,
Regalado.
I also requested co-sponsorship of 14A1.
All right. Anyone else? All right, with that, all in favor of setting the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show the item, the agenda here set. All right, so we have a time certain, as most of you probably noticed, on two items, on 8J1 and 14A1. I am going to first take up 8J1, which is our fuel farm item. But before we begin on it, I'd like to make a statement to lay out some groundwork for today's discussion. There are a number of issues that require us to limit what is said publicly today. As we all know, we are making a decision today about entering into an eminent domain litigation. We have already been sued by the Fisher Island Condo Association and the Fisher Island Club. So we are already in litigation about the acquisition and condemnation of the Fisher Island fuel farm property. The things that are said today could be detrimental to the county's interest in either piece of litigation, and I am going to cut off any discussion that could be harmful to the county's interest in any litigation. In addition, it is my understanding that there may be land use applications related to this property that this board may be called upon to decide in the future. In order to preserve the integrity of any decisions that this board may be required to make in the future, we will not be discussing the merits of or predictions regarding zoning decisions or zoning applications related to this property. There are confidentiality provisions and public records exemptions in Florida law that apply to the mediation proceedings that took place and also to real estate purchases. The county's negotiations with the property owner, HRP, are subject to confidentiality, so we will not be discussing the terms or the negotiations that took place over the last several months. To the extent you have questions or concerns about any of this litigation or issues related to the property, I urge you to have conversations with our county attorney's office privately and directly. Did everybody understand what I just read? Because, again, we are in current litigation. It is expected that we may enter additional litigation, so anything we say can be used against us, and I will be interrupting any discussion of that sort to protect not just this body, but to protect Miami-Dade County and its residents. Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that, and I signed an NDA before I read the documents and then also met with the mediator. But I think that there are some basic questions that we can ask that does not inhibit our litigation. My concern is I understand we want to protect the county's future interests, but there is also a chilling effect to this. I think we do also have the right to ask some questions of staff and ensure that what is being brought to us today is the best path forward.
Absolutely. As long as it doesn't, I mean, you've been doing this long enough. You know that what could hurt us in litigation and what won't. So let's just keep that in mind as we all discuss this, but I'm sure we will have plenty of discussion on it. So with that, I will call the item officially AJ1, and I can start.
Through the chair.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
If I could start, I'd be grateful.
That works, yeah. I was going to start with the sponsor of the item, but you're welcome to lead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first, I'd like to acknowledge the many people who've come here to speak to this item today and in support of this item, the cruise and the cargo operations, and to our employees. I also want to acknowledge that this has been a tumultuous few weeks for all of us. I'm pleased to see that the entire port community has come together around this item, from our cruise lines to our cargo and labor partners, and we are united in seeking a solution. In October of last year, this board directed this administration to negotiate with the owner of the fuel facility property on Fisher Island. And if negotiations failed, the administration was authorized to initiate an eminent domain suit. 2 weeks ago, I announced that I had been presented with the final terms of the deal, and I found them unacceptable. While the deal has merits, including that the county would own the asset outright and the deal would have paid for itself over time with new revenues, ultimately the price tag was too high. And since then, my administration has been working with the county attorney's office to initiate an eminent domain proceeding, and we have moved quickly and decisively to ensure that the port's fuel supply is protected. So today's item is a cleanup item for the resolution authorizing eminent domain. Since the authorizing resolution is filed as part of the legal proceedings, it's critical that it accurately reflects the parcels to be acquired. The authorizing resolution also includes additional analysis supporting the public necessity of the taking. My decision was not made lightly. The path comes with risk, but we will not allow this community to be held hostage, and we will do whatever it takes to ensure the fuel continues to flow at Port Miami. I ask for your support today in protecting this vital economic engine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Commissioner Gober, would you like to, as a sponsor of the item, say something now, or would you like me to go to the pooling commissioners?
I think that we can, well, I'll say this now and then hear the comments from the pooling commissioners and my colleagues, and then I'll go into the item. But I just want to say this in the very beginning. I told you all that we would be here doing this. I told you all that we would be here doing this and that it would be more expensive, a much more expensive conversation. It was nonsensical to believe that we shouldn't have negotiated with the people who owned the property versus the people who were buying the property. And so now when they make expectations of cost, we can call it unfortunate. We can't call it unforeseeable. because it was not just foresaw, it was foretold. And so, yes, this has been tumultuous, Mayor, there's been mistakes, but ultimately when this board decided to negotiate with the buyer instead of the seller, we made a mistake. I look forward to hearing from my colleagues.
Commissioner from District 8, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am in support of item 8J1. I do have a friendly amendment. If the attorneys can read it, the spirit of the amendment is simply this: understanding the level of contention surrounding the item and anticipating that contention will continue, having the greatest confidence in our county attorney's office and understanding that all parties involved in this transaction happen to be some of the most wealthiest residents of Miami-Dade County. I would like to equip our county attorney's office with as much support as possible to make sure, as much as we can, that we offer them the support that they need to successfully litigate this eminent domain proceeding on behalf of the county. So if the attorneys can read the amendment, please, to 8J1.
Commissioner Danielle Cohen-Higgins moves to amend item 8J1 to authorize the county attorney to select outside counsel as needed to provide specialized legal expertise and assistance in a supportive role to the county attorney's office regarding the acquisition of the subject property via eminent domain and waives conflicts consistent with board policy for waiving conflicts for outside bond counsel. The county attorney will brief commissioners as needed regarding this matter. Funding for compensating the selected outside counsel will be subject to confirmation by the Office of Management and Budget of legally available funding.
So is that it? You accept it? All right, so it's a friendly amendment. And then just for procedural, like, are you moving the item as well? As amended?
I move the item as amended.
All right, so it's been moved as amended, seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. And then I have Commissioner from District 7, you're recognized.
Thank you. First of all, I think that there are a lot of things that we can talk about that do not impact the county's position. This board, time and time again, whether it's a comp plan item or a simple resolution, has a tendency to question administration, even when they're being authorized to change a Scribner's error. Yet, on this issue, and an issue that we all agree on is important, everyone in this room, everyone in this community believes that fuel for Port Miami is important. The question of how we get there, we have almost no information. We have to fight to get information, and we're not given complete information. So I find it fascinating that in instances that have been so chaotic, in a situation where the people that were negotiating this are no longer employed by Miami-Dade County, we are asked to blindly trust the administration when making this decision. I signed an NDA. I looked at what was provided to me. Not everything was provided to me. I made requests to meet with people. I was not allowed to meet with everyone. I did meet with the mediator. I wish you all would meet with the mediator. I requested a shade meeting. I requested that the mediator present at a shade meeting. We could have a shade meeting because we have the Fisher Island litigation. I requested information on the future mediation that would come as a result of this. I requested information on the current state of the law in terms of taking and pricing. I requested information on the permitting and the permitting timelines. There's a series of things that are not being considered. We're being told that there is a crisis and that the only path forward is to purchase Fisher. There has been no discussion of the $79 million investment that Miami-Dade County made along with the federal government for the FEC rail line. There is no discussion of the current negotiations that the county has with FEC to do an inland port and how those negotiations would open up space on Port Miami. There is no discussion of how Senate Bill 1629, which goes into effect on July 1st and was signed by the governor on April 23rd, will impact shore power and the winding down of shore power. There's no conversation about how that's going to change the dynamic at the port. There's no conversation about FCC's desire, as was mentioned here, to put a fuel facility on the port. There's no consideration of the impact that the Little River Station that was approved by this board and the location of MSC outside of the port has on the master plan, and how that rail line and station that was brought by Commissioner Hardiman could potentially help others on the port to co-locate outside of Dodge Island. There's been no conversation on how MSC moving there would change the footprint at the port. There's been no side-by-side comparison of long-term cost and what we are actually purchasing. There's been little to no information from Transmontane as to the fuel facility and its current situation. There's no details on the long-term costs of updating the Fisher Island fuel facility and the current sites and how the current site is not in compliance with current standards. There's been no discussion of the environmental risk associated with the current barging practice that is outdated circa 1950 and impacts everyone that lives around Dodge Island. There's been no discussion of funding. We've alluded to reserves in the past, but we haven't spoken if funding for this taking is going to come from reserves, bonds, or a tariff. And there's been no discussion about permitting and what is currently available to us. We all want a long-term plan. My fear is that first, we're making this decision without enough information. That this is going to be another situation similar to the Westchester Government Center where we buy something and then we get a bill afterwards. We could negotiate more time for this fuel facility and find another alternative. From the inception, the folks that were negotiating this did not want to consider that. Those folks are no longer at the table. I ask you to please allow us to go back to the table and have a real conversation about other placement before we move forward with eminent domain. The taking of personal property is not a small thing. It will be expensive, and it is a dangerous precedent. This board has not received enough information to make this decision. We have not been given access to all the details. The chairman negotiated it. Some of us signed an MDA. Some of us have spoken to the mediator. Some of us have not. There has not been a determination of impasse. This is a decision that will impact this county for the next 50 years, and it should not be made lightly. Every time we scream crisis here, we run into a burning building without getting all the facts. And I ask you all to please, at a minimum, have a shade meeting or have everyone meet with the mediator and consider other options before we move forward with eminent domain.
Commissioner from District 5, it was going to be you, but Commissioner from District 11, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not an I told you so type of person, but Oliver is. And I do remember that meeting very, very clearly. And I do remember you saying that. And I do remember us having an entire conversation on that. And although it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, now we're here. And what are we going to do to move forward? I do have some questions to lay the foundation as to how we got here. And I know that, the administration is ready to answer these questions. But I think it's important to understand how we got here so that we can get to the proper solution and really understand what the next move should, could, not would be, right? So to the administration, what is the exact date that the property was listed for sale? I don't know if this is better for Mr. Cooley or for the director of the port, but can somebody answer the question?
Hold on, I don't have the date it was first listed for sale, Commissioner. What we have is, we have the information that some say that the port knew the property was for sale or should have known the property was for sale, but what I can tell you is the moment that the mayor found out the property was for sale, it was already too late for her to stop it.
And what specific date or around what date was that?
That would, you got a date?
Sir. Through the chair. Mr. Commissioner, from what we understand, it was April of 2024 as far as when the port was notified.
So this is when the port was notified.
Not officially notified through the media.
So were they notified or were they not, sir?
That's when we ended up getting notified in April 2024.
And when you say we, are you referring to the port, sir?
Port administration, yes, sir.
When did closing occur on the property?
Pardon, can you repeat that, sir?
When did the closing occur on the property?
October 2025, Commissioner.
October of 2025. Did the county submit an offer on the property prior to October of 2025?
No.
No, Mr. Commissioner.
Before you answer this to the county attorneys, can we get into why didn't we submit an offer?
You may, Commissioner.
Why didn't we submit an offer?
Commissioner, I believe the best answer for that is this property has changed hands about 6 times since it's been a fuel supply. It's always been a fuel supply. I think that the port staff assumed it would always be and just failed to notify the mayor that this possibility was out there and just didn't act on it, assuming it would always be a fuel supply as it's changed hands 6 times in the past.
So in the past, it had been sold and bought.
We have a record of 6 title changes from the time Belcher Oil that originally built the facility sold it to various people and had been acquired and so forth.
Thank you, Chief. Was the possibility of eminent domain contemplated prior to the purchase? And if it was, why did the county not proceed with eminent domain at that time? And I'm specifically trying to get to if eminent domain made sense prior to our September 18, 2025 special meeting, and why didn't the administration come to the board at that time seeking to institute eminent domain proceedings prior to the September 30th closing on the property?
Commissioner, the administration did not know that this property was going to be proposed to close as a fuel station until then. And when this board authorized the administration to negotiate, the mayor appointed a negotiating committee that spent 9 months trying to negotiate this deal that ultimately she canceled and puts us back where we are now. This board directed the administration to negotiate, and if they could not reach agreement, to go immediately to eminent domain. So we were already authorized to go to eminent domain. What we're doing here today is merely clarifying the legal description and making it more correct, and it's actually a smaller amount of property than the first legal description that you approved for eminent domain to authorize us to go for the smaller property.
Thank you, Chief. And that was actually my next question. And I think if you could please just clarify it, because you just answered it, but if you could just clarify it once more, because we gave the administration the authority to proceed with eminent domain should the negotiations not work. And so why do we have this before us today where we're saying again, yes, move forward with eminent domain? If you could just explain it.
Simply stated, sir, the legal description that you approved included an adjoining folio that does not need to be eminent domain, and this corrects that and brings it to the exact piece of property, which is one less folio.
Got it. So in the original memo, the parcel just wasn't correct?
It was larger. It included another piece of property adjoining it that has been determined we do not need eminent domain, that we have an easement on it.
Got it. And to the port or to the chief, whoever feels more comfortable answering the question, of course, always through the chair, but were alternate sites, including on-port sites, thought of to be viable prior to the closing?
Mr. Commissioner, we hired, the administration hired an outside expert, a professional engineer with AECOM to evaluate all of these. He is in the room with us if you want to ask him any questions. His name is Mr. Philip Hadfield. He's the Vice President of AECOM, and he's over these matters, and he's responsible for the report he gave us on alternative analysis.
And Mr. Mr. Philip,
Hatfield.
So
if you could please.
while you do that, and you could probably do that, I just want to, first of all, I want to thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez, for actually asking the attorneys if your line of questioning was accurate. On that note, A, I'd encourage all my colleagues that are going to speak to do the same. And B, to the attorneys, if you can just, I said I would be jumping in, but if you catch something that I don't, please feel free to jump in and just advise any commissioner of the same. But go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Phillip, were alternate sites, including on-port sites, thought to be viable, or according to your research, was it viable to have an on-port site prior to the closing?
We evaluated ultimately 5 sites on port, strictly on port. One was determined to be not viable at all. A second was determined to be too small to accommodate the current capacity of the existing Fisher Island facility. There were 3 sites that we advanced and developed layouts, concepts, costs, and schedules. From a strictly technical perspective, there is viability. However, there are business decisions that need to factor into that, and we are not a part of that component. We provided the technical information for the port and the county to utilize as a part of their business decisions.
Wait, so your analysis came to the conclusion that there was viability, but there had to be, I guess, business contemplations, but you determined that there was viability?
I'll explain further.
Thank you.
A new on-port facility would require taking away land from existing terminals, existing facilities. It would require demolition and replacement of existing infrastructure and facilities. There are challenges that need to be addressed further, utility connections, power connections. It also requires conversion of waterfront berths or wharfs over to fuel uses, which would take away from existing cargo operations. Also would require upgrades. It would also require new pipelines through the port to connect the berths to the new facilities. These are all significant challenges that require considerable permittage costs and schedules associated with them.
And you know, when I hear you say all those things, and I like how you ended it, because I'm thinking that there are certain considerations that need to be looked at specifically with financing and timing. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Thank you, sir. To the attorneys, I just have 2 questions, and again, stop me if we shouldn't get into this, but can you explain the procedural difference between a quick taking and a slow taking?
Yes, Commissioner.
In reference to an eminent domain process.
Yes, Commissioner. In a quick take, the county would take title to the property early on in the proceeding by making a deposit based on an initial appraisal after an order of taking hearing. The county would take title at the very same time that it makes the deposit. The case would then proceed to a 12-person jury trial on the value of the property and the final determination of the compensation award to the property owner. The county would be obligated to pay the property owner the compensation award determined by the jury without consideration of affordability of the amount determined at that time. In a slow take, the county would take title to the property after the jury has determined the amount of compensation. In a slow take, once the jury determines the amount of compensation due for the property taken, the county makes an election as to whether to take the property given the ascertained value or to forego the taking, in which case the county is required to pay the property owner's attorney's fees and costs as it would in any eminent domain scenario. In both cases, the date of value of the property is the date that the county takes title to that property. In a quick take, it usually takes about 6 to 12 months from the time this board authorizes eminent domain to get title to the property. This is not a typical case, so it's difficult to predict. In a complex contested case, it could take up to a year or more to get title in a quick take.
Condemning authorities rarely use the slow take procedure because it could possibly take more than a year to get title after a jury trial. A complex case could even take closer to 2 years. In that time, a property owner may take action to add value to the property, and property values also tend to increase over time.
Thank you. That was a great answer. My next question is geared towards, just for clarification purpose, because this is what I'm getting, but I'd like for you to clarify. Specifically in a quick taking, the county is obligated to compensate the affected party at the value of the property determined by the jury. Is that correct?
That's correct. The ultimate compensation award is determined by the jury.
So the biggest difference here is that there's no opportunity for the county to go back to back out of if it disagrees with the valuation of the jury.
That's correct.
Okay. No further questions.
Commissioner from District 5, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the district commissioner that includes the Port and Fisher Island, I think it's fitting that I give my remarks today. So thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez, for that very pointed line of questioning. You have taken some of my questions, and the clarity is perfect, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate, Mr. Chairman, the fact that we're having discussions that could impact future decisions that we have to make and legal proceedings that we may be involved in. So I'm grateful for that. So I'm just going to really just say my comments. I don't really have any questions. As much as I appreciate the cruise lines and the cargo industry coming, the most important thing to me, believe it or not, are the workers and the ILA representatives that came today. This port is an economic engine in my district. And I'm such an incredible supporter of the hundreds of thousands of jobs that are impacted here every day, and really grateful for the ILA members who go to work every day and are such an integral part of the success of that port. I was on the port this past week because we have a fire station there. And that fire station was built when the port was not anywhere near as big as it is. And the issue was that firefighters need more space on the port. And yet, we haven't been able to find the space that they require. And I found that so incredibly telling because this is a public safety issue. They are not, because of the traffic on the port, they're incapable of getting to their boats that are stationed there in order to address or comply with an emergency that may occur on the port. They also now, because of the fact that they can't get to the cruise ships within a certain period of time if someone is sick and needs to be taken off the ships, they have to put people on the north, I guess what I would call the east and the west end of that island, in like a small little, like I would call it, I guess, a golf cart that has emergency services on there. So to think that there would be any room for anything else when I can't even provide the proper room for public safety is a concern for me as well, and something that I hope to work with the administration, because should something happen in the cargo side of our port, which it can and has, it takes almost 20 minutes to get from the station to the cargo side because of the traffic, because there's no leeway for an emergency vehicle to get through it on a given day when the traffic is so backed up. So I just want to say that I'm in support of the item, very much so. I was not here as a commissioner in September of 2025, nor when this commission voted to negotiate with the new owners, nor was I here in October when we moved for a resolution of eminent domain. And I do understand, and thank you for the clarification of what we're actually doing here today, which is to lessen the amount of property that we're taking, so it represents the exact property that we would be taking. But having said all of that, I agree with Commissioner Gilbert that I probably would have said, I told you so. There is an incredible need If we're the #1 cruise capital of the world and we have so much cargo coming in and out, I just can't understand how we're even having this discussion. We owe it to our economy, we owe it to the workers on the port to move forward and ensure that the operations of that port are not disturbed in any way, delayed or interfered with. And as the district commissioner, I need to tell my colleagues I'm in complete support of it. It is what it is, and unfortunately there have been missteps along the way, and we probably didn't do what we should have done, which was negotiate a deal with the owner before he sold the property. But that was then, and we are here now, and we have to be responsible, and we have to make a responsible choice for the public good. And thank you again, ILA members. I'm so grateful that you are here because I understand very clearly the importance that you play in all of the operations of what goes on in our port, and that is why we are such an incredibly famous port now. And to not look at the fire issues and to not look at your issues would be irresponsible on my part. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner from District 2, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank Commissioner Gilbert for this item. And I heard you clearly. You were right then and then you're right now. As a mental health professional, we are taught to make the decisions that are important now. We could have done so many things. We could have taken so many decisions. Hard, but we could have taken different decisions that would prevent us from being where we are right now. But we are here. What do we do? I'd like to thank Commissioner Gonzalez for his line of questioning, and then a couple of my questions were answered. But we all agree, colleagues, we all agree that the Port of Miami is one of our biggest assets. And its success is important because without its success, Miami-Dade will not be the premier cruising destination that it is today. And then we have reasons to be so proud of the importance of this port. I love cruising. I love to go to cruises. I go to cruises for leisure, and I've also liked to go to conferences on cruising, which I've done in the past. And I've always marveled when the boat is entering the port. I always marvel at the beauty of it all. I marvel about the beauty, but also the possibilities, because I've also traveled a lot and I've seen other ports and I've seen uses, and I've always dreamed of a day where the Port of Miami could also make changes so that besides the cruising and all the activities that our wonderful, hardworking employees do every day, other uses that could amplify this port. Now, I have a couple of questions, and then lawyers again, stop me if I don't think these are that could put us in legal problems, but if it is, let me know. There are several articles about the decision before us, many of which mention taxpayer money going to the port. However, I would like the administration to confirm for the record, does the Port of Miami receive funds for the county's general fund?
Commissioner, they do not receive general fund monies. They do generate their own funds, but it is an asset owned by the taxpayer. So that's the conversation. It's a taxpayer-owned asset, but general funds does not support it. It has to generate its own fees.
Thank you for clarifying that. As I indicated, some of the questions have already been asked and answered. Has the county received any proposal to build the fuel facility on the port? In the past, has the county received any proposal to build a fuel facility on the port?
Commissioner Bastian, we have received a number of people reach out and offer solutions, both building on the port and off the port. That is the purpose of us having the outside expert for AECom to evaluate those. I have been in regular meetings, and what I tell these folks when they have their grandiose ideas, that we ask them to talk with our experts from AECom and let AECom vet it, and if AECom comes back with anything viable, we're more than happy to consider it, but so far we don't have that.
So you have not received any viable?
Well, I wouldn't say it's impossible. When I say not viable, extremely costly, such as if you decided to build on the port. We've never said it's impossible, but all of that land there now is claimed by somebody. It's either under lease from a cruise company or it's under lease from a freight company. We would have to break leases. Those have economic impacts. Those could take a long time to work through the system, as well as deciding where we're going to berth the ships that will come in to deliver fuel, which will take spaces away from those that currently have berths. And so all of those issues would have to be worked through, and those could take years. And that's the warning that our outside expert gives us. We've got to work through the property issues, then we've got to select the property, then we have to design it and then build it, and they've estimated it could be 9 years before we could be ready to go with a facility there. And we don't know the exact cost. We have estimates, but we don't know what the cost would be to go in and tell one of our partners, whether it be a cruise line or a freight hauler, that you got to give up your property you've leased from us because they currently have it. And so that would take a negotiation, and it could be a long one.
All right. So it is important that the administration is confident about its position on eminent domain. However, there are risks, right? What are the risks for the Port of Miami if your request for eminent domain is rejected?
If we were to be rejected in eminent...
By the courts.
By the court. If we were to be rejected by the court, we would have to bring in a temporary fueling solution, which we have already developed a plan for, which would essentially be bringing in a fuel ship and tying it up where one of our freight ship berths would be, so we would lose that, and we would have to supply the rest of the ships out of it until we could do something different. It would be costly. It would be costly to us. It would be costly to those buying fuel, but that would be the consequence if we lost.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner from District 12, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just start by saying there's a difference between being notified and being aware of something. Being notified, whether it's legally sufficient or you read it in the paper, is different from being aware. And the question I would pose, and I don't know, Roy, if it's you or the attorneys, the original lease was for 90 years, and what year did that lease really finish, so to speak?
We're not aware of a 90-year lease.
My understanding was that from up to the year 2015, that's what you guys said last time, there had been a lease on that property from the county side. And the county had opportunities, even the prior administration, to try to buy this land. And I will tell you, that's what the attorney said, that's what you guys said. Now, if that's not true, it doesn't matter, because by 2024, you should have known it. The fact that you assumed there would always be a port facility, a fuel facility, is an assumption, and you know what happens when you assume. This is the same issue that we had when we talked about the airport hotel, which hasn't even broken ground, where we don't even know what's underground. But somebody that in 2014, under a prior administration, prior commission, has access to. So we don't even know what's under our own airport. So both of these examples, when we talk about the port and the airport that employ so many people and are so key to the success of this county, we need to pay a lot more attention to. And moving forward, I think, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, if we have leases anywhere in this county with anybody, anywhere, we should really take a look at it. We have the county's largest law firm, maybe, arguably not, maybe not the largest per se across the country, but the largest one here. So if everybody does their job, we wouldn't be in this position. And that's not a criticism of you or this administration or my colleagues, but certainly the prior commission and the prior administration and prior county attorneys certainly should have known that also. So at some point, we have to admit and recognize we dropped the ball. That's why we're in this position. To say anything else would be unfair. Commissioner, I was not here in September, but I was here in October. And Commissioner Gilbert, I shared his sentiments in October precisely because we probably should have done that in September. Because that's a fact. I was at home watching TV, and I thought it was as simple as somebody seconding his motion. Guess what happened? Turned into a long conversation, and I started watching another show. I think it was Kelly Ripa and her husband, or whatever that is, because it was going to be too long a conversation. You know, Kelly and Mark. So, you know, I think Commissioner Gilbert, you know, I shared his sentiments in October when I was back. He's correct. We knew that we were going to be back here. Absolutely, we knew we were going to be back here because when you arm some, and I've done thousands, if not hundreds, if not thousands of mediations over the years, and and arbitrations. One of the things you've got to arm your client with is the tools to succeed. And I don't think we armed our clients with the tools to succeed that day. We did not. We did not, because we refused. By not arming our clients with the tools to succeed, we told the other side, this is what's going to happen. And that's what happened. And they took advantage of it. And there's nothing wrong with that, because after all, they're business people. They're not necessarily a government. They don't have to worry for the good of all the people. They got to worry about their business. And that's what occurred. And that, to me, has been one of the biggest problems with this whole process since, and like the Monkees said in their comeback album, that was then, this is now. So this is now, right? But let's acknowledge the fact that even now, we've got to do a better job. Because there's a lot of people in this room, just some, that have their businesses here in this county, that have chosen this port over other ports. There are other ports, by the way. Just go a little bit further up north. There's a lot of fuel in that place up there that some of you may call Fort Lickerdale, but some people call Fort Lauderdale. So the bottom line, and we can go further up north, they have options. They have options. I want to say, and this goes to the county attorney's office. I got a call from my staff about talking to the mediator. And yes, we could, and I agree with Commissioner Regalado, we could have had him in the shade meeting. But it's a terrible negotiating tactic to have 13 different people and a mayor have conversations with a mediator. I've never gone into a mediation or an arbitration where 13, 14 different people speak for the client. As a lawyer, I don't see how that works. So I'd like to get some clarification, because I decided not to, because I thought this body, maybe I'm wrong, I thought we gave one person on this commission the right to be part of that process. And to me, that's what makes sense, because there's 13 of us, 13 different points of views. And none of us, we're all type A's, so none of us are going to not want to say what we think, which is okay if we're in the shade meeting. But I'd like to find out from the attorneys, how does it work? Has this ever happened where 13 commissioners just go and meet with a mediator while you guys are discussing things?
Commissioner, the purpose of the meetings that were offered to each of the commissioners was not for negotiation. It was informational as to what had occurred. You're correct that the item that was approved in November designated from the commission only the chairman to participate in the negotiations. And otherwise, you know, it would be, as would normally done through the county mayor, the county mayor's designee, that the negotiations would be conducted. But it was not, those meetings were sometimes requested by commissioners or their staff, but they were purely for informational purposes, not for negotiation.
Okay, I would proffer that if you ever have that opportunity again, that we have an in the shade meeting, which we can legally because there was already a lawsuit, and we could all talk openly, and that becomes public record after the resolution of the lawsuit. That's a lot better than having a mediator listening to, I don't know how many points of views, because I think it weakens the position of this commission when 13 different people meet separately and give an opinion. So I would proffer in the future, I hope that doesn't occur. I'll say two other things. On or off the port, you know, and I'm going to support this item. because I think it's the right thing to do. I thought it was the right thing to do, and I agree with Commissioner Lopez. And I'm not going to defer just because she's the commissioner of the district, but she makes perfect sense. And that's why I'm going to support the item. The bottom line is whether it's on or off port, we should never stop discussions. This county should never stop trying to get better. And that's what I see sometimes when we find ourselves in these conundrums. We find ourselves in a position after instead of before. Information isn't provided. Messages are sent incorrectly. Those are things that I think we should avoid. And that's upon us as commissioners and upon you as the administration and everybody that works at the county, including your office, Madam County Attorney. So I think that's very important. I'm going to go back to something Commissioner Lopez says, which is the most important thing from my perspective as a public policymaker, which is, and it's not just about the cruise lines, it's also about the commercial aspect of it. This port is one of the top ports in the United States. As a matter of fact, the prior commission spent a lot of money to make sure that certain types of ships could come into this port. This port employs thousands of people, some that are here today, but some that are not. A lot of people that come to this county, the first thing they see when they come here is this port or the airport. And to me, the most important thing is I don't want some of these companies that we're speaking or we're here today to move to that port to the north or Port Canaveral or anywhere else in the United States. I don't want the commercial entities to move so some of the people that are here that work and their families live off this port and this would have to go somewhere else. So I hope my decision, in my opinion here, is we have to give you the tools to give us the best option, and then we make the decision. I thought that's how it worked. Apparently, I don't know if maybe I'm in La La Land or something, but that's how I thought it should work. That's why in October, when I did come back, and I'm not asking for the lottery numbers after today's meeting, Commissioner Gilbert, I joined him and I agreed with him. He was right. It made no sense. You do not, if you ever practice law, you do not go into a mediation without giving your attorney all the tools needed to get the result you would like to see, which you may not get the result you'd like to see, but you're certainly not going to get it if you don't give them all the tools that are needed. And I think the viability of the port is the greatest issue in front of us today. I'm going to say one last thing. This habit of telling businesses how to run their businesses, which is apparently something that is very common, is something we need to really think about. There's a number of business owners, both on the commercial outside and on the cruise side, that are here today. Unless one of us slept at a holiday, even if we slept at a Holiday Inn, we're never going to own that business as well as they do. And I caution all of you that these businesses do not have to stay in Dade County. And the day they decide to move from Dade County, whether it's in this case or in other cases, we're going to lose jobs, and the income disparity between those who have and those who don't is going to get worse, and then crime is going to increase, and all these things are going to lead to problems. So I would hope that all of us, the mayor, the administration, my colleagues, understand. And by the way, this is a call to the business community. It's time that the business community tell us what they really think, not just what they think at the time of the campaign, what they really think. Because, you can do well for the community and do well for yourself. But it's time that we get told by the business community, this is what we really think. Not what I want to hear. And I say that with some of the people that are here that have been the heart and soul of this port to a certain extent. I don't want to hear what I want to hear. I want to hear what you know. And if you know that if this is not going to work, you're going to end up in another place, and we're going to lose people in Dade County, and it's easier to go somewhere else, let us know. So I just think, look, this is a really it's not no one's fault on this commission. And I don't think, in large part, it's a fault of this administration. But we're in a bad situation. And unfortunately, we have to do the best that we can in a difficult situation. But I caution you, please, as we move forward on this item and any item that deals with facilities that are critical to the operation and the financial success of this county, or at least the viability, I'm not even going to call it success, the viability of this county, the business community has to let us know what they really think, not what we want to hear. And we, as a commission, the administration, and even you, this wonderful group of attorneys that make up the county attorney's office. One last question. With Commissioner Cohen-Higgins' suggestion, I feel comfortable because it says as needed, but I want to make sure you guys are comfortable with the proposal that you are able to get hire outside counsel if needed.
Yes, Commissioner, this would be in a supporting role, and we're comfortable with the motion.
Okay. All right, I've said my piece, and I just tell my colleagues and caution you again, and to the administration, please, go back and look at these leases. Tell them, the attorney's office, or tell all your staff, look at all the leases that we have. Look at them now. It happens with housing. My august colleague to the left has pointed that out on many occasions. You know, and it happens with the airport. Now it's happening. It happened here. It's not that hard. You know, I think that if you assign the right people, and now with artificial intelligence that apparently everybody's using, just run all those things and try to figure out, is there a lease out there that we need to look at? Catch it before it becomes a problem. This happens with the concessions. It happens with this. It happens with that. It's constant. And it's something that I think we need to avoid. And Roy, I'm sorry, I know I'm not even making a reference to your Alabama drawl because you're doing the best you can. And that's okay. That's all we can ask. Because all I can ask of my colleagues, of myself, of you, and all of us, and even of our residents and business owners is do the best you can. But let's make sure that we do the best that we can so we avoid these situations. And I don't ever want to go into any sort of situation where we do not give ourselves, okay, and the county attorney's office, we have to give them the tools. If they don't have the tools, they're not in a position where they could represent us fully or at the best way that they can. And that's what happened in this situation. I never saw the end of the show because I went off, like I said, to, Kelly and Mark. But Commissioner Gilbert, when I came back in October, was more than right. We're back where we knew that unfortunately we were going to end up in. And that's happening way too often on too many issues. And I think we need to really do something about it.
Commissioner from District 7, you recognize.
Thank you. I just want to make some points to the administration. Obviously you have the votes. And I just want to clarify, Commissioner Bastien brought up the point, and I know for a fact that we've received several offers to build this at the port. And Roy, you said, we sent it to AECOM and then AECOM figures it out. My issue is that AECOM doesn't have all the information. So I'm just going to list some things that I hope you all give to AECOM because I go back to the information that we haven't been provided with and what they are not considering in making a determination that impacts the well-being of the county. So I mentioned it earlier, and I think it's very important, the current negotiations with FEC for the inland port, specifically how that inland port and the $79 million investment that we've already made would free up cargo space. We know that it's going to reduce the footprint. We know that there's going to be a subsidy involved, and that should be considered by AECOM when they're making their decision. The second one is Commissioner Lopez mentioned the ILA. There has been no conversation about the broken cranes and the current situation with cargo. There has been no consideration about how the taking of all this funding to purchase the Fisher facility would impact the capital program that impacts that commercial operation. So I think that we should look at those leases, and we should also look at the needs for the infrastructure on the cargo side that have not been met, and what will happen if that funding is used for something else. Commissioner Lopez also mentioned Miami-Dade Fire. Miami-Dade Fire not only believes that their station is inadequate, but they have mentioned releasing that land and going to the two ends of the port. I know that they were in discussion. They have a semi-permanent site that they want to do. And there should be a consideration of the impact that this decision would have on Miami-Dade Fire's ability to consider providing service that's adequate for the port. There was also a mention of electrical. That's mentioned in the report. We recently, 3 years ago, did a complete electrical overhaul of the airport. That has not happened at the port. When AECOM did their analysis, they dumped that all on the new facility. That needs to be done. Hard stop. The fact that it would need to be done if we had a new facility just allows you to accelerate an existing need. But I think we need to consider that separate and apart, because that is a cost that the port will have, irrespective of purchasing Fisher. And the question is, where will we get that money if we spend everything to purchase Fisher? And finally, I know that the mayor will agree with me. I believe that the way that we move fuel through Fisher right now is not the best. The barges, the way that they function, environmentally, they are a risk to Biscayne Bay. And I would really appreciate if, as part of this analysis, AECOM also looks at best practices and how other ports are moving fuel. I'm in full support of the cruise industry, of cargo, but we are buying a dinosaur, and we'll be back. First a year to pay for the dinosaur, and then a few years later. So I cannot support this item, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we buy a wonderful property at a wonderful price and it's good for decades, but I sincerely doubt that given the information that I've been given by the administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized to
Thank you,
ratify that Love Island is actually your show of preference. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My staff correctly reminded me, so everybody knows, I was on medical leave, which is why I was watching Mark and Kelly, because I was not able to walk at the time. It wasn't that I was skipping the meeting, okay?
We
So
know
everybody's
it was
clear, and I appreciated all of your concerns at the time, all my colleagues and the mayor, who were very kind, but it was because I was on medical leave. But I did switch the channel, and I admit it. Don't take it personally, guys. It was just, in the afternoon I was tired. I just got out of the hospital, and had to relearn how to move and all that good stuff. So it was on medical leave. I wasn't just watching. I wasn't leaving them to all the difficult decisions.
All right, Commissioner. Love Island it is. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a follow-up to AECOM, because I think that their remarks have been important. So if AECOM can approach, again, I know you mentioned looking at 5 sites and that 3 of them were deemed viable, but then you said there would be a higher cost and operational and policy decisions that need to be made. Can you speak to what that cost is? Can you articulate on the record what the estimated cost is of selecting potentially one of those 3 sites, in addition to what you have already mentioned regarding there being existing tenants on that land and needing to shift the entire operation of the port around? Give us an idea of what the cost is. The chief already made clear it's not impossible, but we need the fuel today, right? We're moving hundreds of thousands, not millions of passengers. We need access to the fuel right now, 340,000 jobs. So yes, pie in the sky, 10 years from now, potentially we could build a fuel farm on Port Miami, maybe, but at what estimated cost?
You're recognized.
Yes, so going back to the 3 options that were determined the most viable, and in looking at what it would cost to build the new facility, what it would cost to upgrade and in some cases replace existing wharf facilities, the pipelines connecting the two, and also relocation of existing facilities, which depending on the option are either cargo related, cruise related, or otherwise. We estimated costs, and this was using the county's formula, factoring in not just construction costs, but soft costs, et cetera. The cheapest option was in the range of about $733 million, with the most expensive option of the 3, approximately almost $1.2 billion.
Thank you. Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you for that. All right. listen, I've been listening very closely, and I'll call the question here shortly. Look, I'm going to support this item because on the surface of it, and not on the surface, actually, the reality of this item is, I look at it as some like a Scrivener's error or correction of the legal description onto what this item is. My only hesitation with it, and I said this back whatever that was 9-10 months ago, and it's still my hesitation today, is the very real risk associated with the eminent domain proceedings and the risk, even if minuscule, of not succeeding in a taking and losing that Fisher Island site. And that keeps me up at night. I know it's a minimal from the conversations I've had. I won't get into details, of course. I also signed an NDA, as many of you did, and was privy to a lot of back and forth negotiations between the administration and the parties involved in the ownership group. But again, that is my only hesitation with eminent domain. I'm comfortable with this item today because we already voted for eminent domain in the event of an impasse. My only struggle with that is that I don't believe we were at an impasse. We just did not agree, and by we, of course, the administration. You've rolled out your memo, Madam Mayor, on how you feel. So I have concerns with that as well. I don't think we were actually at an impasse. I think we just kind of didn't, or the administration didn't agree with the negotiations. Rightfully so. You're in your right to do that, and it was a very hefty price tag associated with it. But again, I just hope that we're successful, and I appreciate my colleagues' concerns on and being cautious in the right line of questioning to not jeopardize our litigation or future litigation. Commissioner Hardiman, I'm ready to call a question, but you're recognized.
Thank you. One of the things I want to point out to my colleagues is that with this, would it have been wonderful to have purchased this property many years ago? Yes. It wasn't always for sale, as I understand. But at some point, it became available, and Miami-Dade County didn't take that opportunity. So it's part of our responsibility to protect this baby. We talked about this in the past, right? We have to protect this thing that exists for us, and it gives us tremendous benefit and feeds our community. But I want to be clear: if we are not successful in this, we didn't kill this baby. There's an entity that's making this purchase, that actually purchased the land already, that's trying to sell this asset to us at a cost that is prohibitive, that is way beyond reason. That entity has a face, it has a name, it has many faces and names. And so when you talk about what it means to have a community, that's the face that's destroying this community if things don't go our way. I want to be very clear about that. And when we talk about America and we have the right to profit and all of those things that are wonderful, that make this place a wonderful place to be, unlike other places that are 90 miles away and things of that nature, this is the problem with America from time to time, the greed. This is way beyond, what is a measure I think that we find ourselves comfortable with. And the reason that we're having this tough discussion is because that the request is just too much money. The request is not something that is reasonable of anyone who cares about Miami-Dade County and the future of this county. The fact that we're having this discussion about the future of Miami-Dade County because we can't provide fuel is incredible when, in fact, the players that are involved with this sale are in that industry. Talk about letting someone come into your house and abuse your child. So this is a very tough discussion that we're having here, and we're tiptoeing around it. But I'm not losing any sleep because I know that I'm not the person that's trying to destroy the industry as it is, and I'm also not trying to take advantage of the people. It's okay to make profit. Profit is good. People take profit and they put it into public service all the time. I've seen it happen time and time again. A lot of our beginnings of the United States of America, the railroad industry, all this stuff was built on profit, and people did a lot of money and did great good, and it existed for hundreds of years. But at some point, people have gone too far. And so, Madam Mayor, the first time I heard that this thing was available to us, before the sale was even completed to the last entity that made the purchase, I said we should take the property. And here we are once again discussing the taking of the property. I hope that each of us has the tough discussions with all of our friends that we know that are involved with the sale of this property. Because we as board members of this commission, yes, we have a responsibility to help protect this baby. But at the same time, it is not our responsibility to give away everything, to give so much resources towards something in a way that is irresponsible. I think it's gone too far. And so, I urge everyone to support it as we are today, but just remember that it's not I, it is not you who are trying to destroy the economic viability of Miami-Dade County. It is another person, it is another entity. It is another organization that seeks profit over the people. It is another organization that continues to move forward that may or may not even be based here in Miami-Dade County. But there's enough faces to that organization that are.
Commissioner from District 1 for a closing.
Thank you. This has been a very interesting conversation. I'm very happy that I let you all go first. Just a couple of notes. Just a couple of notes. I'm not going to say I told you so again. I'm not going to do that. I will say this. I listened attentively to each of you. And when my colleague and dear friend Commissioner Regalado says, we know, I want you all to remember, we know is actually she believes. And I think we probably better correct the record on that. We don't know. And I don't believe. We don't know. I disagree with nearly 100% of the stuff that she just said. So I understand this in the public record, and I think part of the problem we've had is, and quite frankly, Commissioner Bermudez, you're correct in how you feel about all 13 of us meeting with the mediator. It's not just the 13 opinions, it's that you're getting the county's position even though you're not supportive of the county's position. And you're actively working against the county's position. It is reckless and irresponsible to share that type of information with someone who is not supportive of the will of the body. Absolutely not. We should stop that practice immediately. Because if we do get in litigation, what you're saying is you're giving information to people who may give information to people who aren't supporting our case. JC, maybe we see it different because we were litigators, but that is the height of recklessness. Stop that. Please stop that. There's some things that I looked at, and the guy from AECOM, and by the way, I trust the engineers to be engineers. Engineers are engineers. We go and hire one of the largest engineering companies in the entire world, and then we say, oh, by the way, your report is wrong because I know better. This is, I've never seen folks try to contort themselves to give away more money. He said something. He said, the date, the title. The value of the property is going to be linked to the date the title is transferred, the date we take title. So it's interesting because when you look at our appraisals, it kind of tracks that out. The one for $25 million is the first one. The one for $180 million, the date is predicated much later, and the one for $430 million is the latest date. So people who are advocating we wait are literally advocating that we pay more. And in the same breath of advocating that we wait and pay more, saying, how will we do other things at the port? Listen, you're right. This is not coming out of the general fund. Your ad valorem does not go to this. But let's be clear, that is a public asset. And if we spend money on this that's less bondable income, we have to do other improvements that are actually needed at the port. When I look at those cruise ships, I don't see the big cruise ships. They're all nice. I'm going to tell you, I've only been on 3 cruises in my entire life, and I don't like being captured on a boat like that. It's a thing with me. But, you know, but y'all are cool. I like y'all. But it's just not my thing. I'm not a cruiser necessarily. People have told me they can convert me. It's a thing. Maybe. I don't know. But what I see is families paying their mortgages. I see I see people sending their kids to college. I see the vacations that they take, the groceries they buy. I actually see the economic engine. When we say words like economic engine, that's a broad term of art that we use, but we don't actually break it down. What that means is it's how we pay our bills. That people fly into our airport, which is the #1 economic engine in the state, to get on our cruise ships. How if we hurt the cruise ships, we also hurt the airport. It's an economic engine. We owe it to the community. We should have passed this item and started the taking before. And I don't believe in taking people's property. I don't offer that lightly, but the eminent domain exists for reasons. We wouldn't have an interstate, highway system without eminent domain. We wouldn't have airports around this country without eminent domain. We wouldn't have some railways without eminent domain. We don't have a lot of the things that make the country go, because there had to be an acknowledgement in the law that the greater good was more important to us than the singular value to the person who owned the property. That's not easy for us to do. That's why we don't do it a lot. But this isn't meant to be easy. It's not easy now, but it's not a difficult decision. Because the alternative is waiting and paying more. That is the alternative, waiting and paying more. The appraisals were also interesting in another respect. One of the appraisers, the one for $25 million, said, I'm appraising this property for $25 million. And I forget the exact quote, but it essentially meant because the property is zoned IU and it can only be used as a fuel farm. Now, the other appraisers did something different. They appraised it, one for residential and the other for, I guess, mixed-use higher residential. But I started to ask the question, why did the one appraiser say it could only be used as a fuel farm? And so immediately I was drawn to the zoning, Mr. Chairman, and the zoning allows IU, that's a fuel farm. It's not zoned for residential. So it's a hypothetical use, and the other appraisers actually listed as a hypothetical. They say it's a hypothetical assumption that if you change the zoning on this property, then it could be valued as something different. That's the hypothetical assumption built into the increased valuations. But why didn't the $25 million appraiser do the same thing? And so I started to ask questions. It turns out there's a restrictive covenant on this property that runs in favor of the county. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, sir, it is correct. A portion of the property, about maybe half the property, has a covenant.
So what that covenant does is it says the property has to be used as a fuel farm unless we say it doesn't. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
The $25 million appraisal made a lot more sense when I found that out. What also made a lot more sense, though I disagree with port employees not reporting up to the boss, telling them that this property is for sale. It had been sold several times, and everybody used it as a fuel farm because the covenant that runs with the land says it has to be used as a fuel farm. So, assuming we can't come to a negotiation, and I hope that we can, though I believe that the amounts that I'm hearing are far too great. I'm not going to let you buy property for $180 million and flip it in 6 months for $400. That's insane. You know, but just assuming that our port employees knew that, it makes a little more sense that no matter who bought the property, it was still going to be a fuel farm. And it kind of makes sense that we would have a restricted covenant that we have to release. We have to release the restricted covenant. And the reason why it makes sense is because somebody years and years and years ago, when it was first entered, said, you know what? This fuel farm is so important to the operations of this port that we have to make sure this property is always usable as a fuel farm. Unless the county commission, by extraordinary vote, it's not a simple majority, I believe it's 2/3 vote, unless 2/3 of us or our successors say we don't need it anymore. We're having a conversation about a piece of property that was meant to be used as a fuel farm indefinitely. We're having that conversation with people who would need us to say that we don't need a fuel farm anymore. And the whole purpose of that conversation is so they could raise the value of the property to make us pay more for it. Initially, I said it was nonsensical. It is nonsensical. I move this item.
All right, it's been moved, it's been seconded as amended. As amended, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Show the item passed, just reflecting one nay. All right. Now, thank you all. Please exit quietly if you were here on the fuel farm item. Please exit quietly. That is not quietly. That is the opposite of quiet. That is the opposite of quiet. Please exit quietly. And while they exit, to my lovely attorneys and staff, I looked at you all kind of funny yesterday when you were optimistic and thinking we could put both of these items time certain for the same time, and that my colleagues were not going to really elaborate on. They were optimistic. Some in the county attorney's office and some on the staff were optimistic that given that we were in litigation with Fuel Farm, that we may not have a robust discussion, but I don't want to say like Oliver, I told you so. All right, guys, sergeants, please, can we make sure that they do exit quietly? I got to get to the next item.
Through the chair,
Madam,
could I have some brief opening remarks on this item?
sure, at the appropriate time, I will. So, all right. I am now going to take up, Madam Attorney, item 14A1, which is my item,
With this supplement, Mr. Chair.
with its supplement, yes. Can we please finish exiting? There was a lot of people here for Fuel Farm. All right. So first, of course, I want to start by thanking everyone involved in getting us to where we are today on this mental health item. And what I anticipate today will be the supportive action to move this building in the direction for it to open its doors in the coming months. So first I want to start by thanking Judge Leifman. I would allow it for Judge Leifman because he has been working on this for 20 plus years, and your passion, dedication, and leadership for those 20 plus years has shown, and we have finally gotten, I think, to the moment of truth here today. His commitment to improving mental health services in our community has been unwavering, and we would not be where we are today without his efforts. So thank you, Judge, for that. I also want to thank, of course, Commissioner Regalado and the administration for their hard work on this important mental health initiative. I know that both of you, together and individually, worked tirelessly on getting this mostly to where we are today. So I thank you both for your efforts as well. Commissioner Regalado, of course, I read your op-ed over the weekend, and I genuinely appreciate your commitment to expanding mental health services and for Miami-Dade residents, and thank you for co-sponsoring this item. The reason I introduced this new item is, as you notice, it has basically, there was nothing removed from the original item sponsored by Commissioner Regalado. There was a lot added to it. And I'll go through some of that now, but all of these additions could have easily equal to 4 or 5, several hours of amendments and discussion. So I thought it cleaner and easier and allow more time for everyone to fully read it, to bring as a clean slate rather than amendments. And my goal was simple. My goal was to strengthen public confidence in the Miami-Dade County Mental Health Center through clear performance standards, independent oversight, transparency, and ongoing evaluation. These safeguards ensure we can expand access to mental health care while maintaining accountability to the public and to taxpayers. And on that note, I want to also I can't thank everyone that was involved because I had many, many meetings, but from leadership at TGK to our Jackson leadership team, who I see in the front rows, to our Chief Justice and her leadership team over at the Justice Department, who I also see here today. Thank you for all the information that, as you can see, if you all have read this, I have implemented a lot of the language and information that you all shared and that I thought was very important to add. With that said, I'd like to briefly highlight the key additions that are set in this item before us today, in addition to what you all have been seeing for the last several months, and it has been in committee, I believe, at least once or twice has been heard in committee. Of course, without advancing from committee, but that was different. So as far as additions, and I'll move through this fairly quickly, Section 10, the 6th floor transitional housing, and that's based on what Ron Book just expressed on during reasonable opportunity, and it requires the mayor to seek homeless trust funding for transitional housing on the 6th floor, and if funding is not secured, then to put out a competitive RFP issued for transitional housing and/or supportive services of this mental health facility. I do trust that an agreement can be reached with the Homeless Trust. And of course, I did add there, Mr. Book, that those housed in this, if an agreement is reached, that they be patients from within our program. So from the mental health facility, from corrections department, but not someone that, I don't know, any other example, that someone that may be transferred from a Camilla's house or something like that, but that it remains from within the program. Section 11, the 7th floor outpatient services, and this was one of the recommendations I received from meeting with one of the folks that were giving input. And it creates an expedited procurement process, requesting that the administration put it out for an outpatient mental health and substance use treatment services, expanding care capacity and creating potential revenue opportunities. So I asked, when it comes to this section, I asked the stakeholders, what is missing here? Like what part of this program do we not have in-house per se? What are we missing? What can we improve on? We've got 2 floors that are still vacant. One of them, of course, we just discussed for transitional housing. And several points were made. One was, well, there's a program in place to facilitate these patients, inmates, as you wish to call them, to outpatient programs and facilities that are outsourced. But once we do that, we kind of just lose track of that patient. So it'd be helpful if we have an in-house outpatient facility. I said, great. What else? What else is, this is one of the few components of this building that, because it is an outpatient facility, it is fully billable to insurances. In most cases, it may be Medicaid, Medicare, or private insurance, but it is almost fully billable to the insurance, which in turn is a revenue generating mechanism or part of the program. And then lastly, something that has not been talked about, and I'm glad that both the administration has expressed support, of course, after reviewing this item, and Judge Leifman, of course, came and supported, and we've exchanged some communication over the weekend showing support. You know, lastly on this item, on this section, and I'd really like to see this expanded through the whole entire facility, is the inclusion of substance abuse patients, a lot of which are dual diagnosed with mental health, but it has not been a conversation. Substance abuse patients has not been a conversation. And as you all know, part of the initial 2-year funding that was identified for this is opioid money that was swept from the opioid fund to allocate to this mental health facility. Yet there was no substance abuse treatment or talks. So I'm adding substance abuse certainly to this outpatient facility on the 7th floor, but certainly I'd like to see the entire building treat substance abuse, because they go hand in hand, is what I've learned through this process. And I'm seeing a thumbs up from Judge Leifman, so that's good. Section 12 establishes a centralized system to track patient outcomes, continuity of care, homelessness, recidivism, and other key metrics to measure effectiveness and accountability. Several of us up here have been asking this time and time again. I heard it was asked in committee. I've asked for it, implementing it in writing now. And of course, throughout the process, folks have stood at the podium and says, yes, of course, that's going to happen. It was not in writing. We're just putting it on pen to paper. Section 13 requires a biannual clinical and operational review by Jackson Health System or its designee to provide independent oversight. This to me was important, and it was important that Jackson had their hands in it. And I'll clarify this, although it has not been said publicly, but I've heard some rumors that Jackson is trying to take this facility at some point. In fact, it's the opposite. I would love them to. They've actually said, no way. Like, we know that this is what it is. We don't want to take this over in any way, shape, or form. But they were kind enough in accepting to be an extra set of eyes and oversight. So thank you for that. I see David here and some of his leadership team. So thank you for that. And I know that there was, of course, going to be auditing and reporting already. I understand that. But it was not in writing. And B, it wasn't the ones that I know had to happen. Like, I imagine Thriving Minds has to do certain audits for DCF funding, but that is like the requirement is for the DCF funding. I don't think statute would have required them to audit the entirety of the building and its operations, just state funding. So I wanted an auditing / reporting mechanism that is wholesome, holistic, and reviews the entire functionality of the mental health facility, and that is where Jackson Health System and or its independent designees come in. Section 14 we've talked about many times, so I'm just codifying, which is the performance reporting. It mandates regular reports on operations, patient outcomes, finances, sustainability, and provider performance to ensure transparency and accountability. Section 15, advisory board oversight. It expands the Behavioral Health Advisory Board's role in reviewing major operational changes and providing recommendations before this county commission for consideration. Section 16, the Homelessness Services Review. I spoke a little bit about this earlier. It requires annual evaluations of services for individuals experiencing homelessness and the Homeless Trust funding contributions. And Section 17, the protection of core services. It ensures funding for the mental health center does not come at the expense of essential county services such as parks, transit, public works, and other core government functions. Of course, this is something that we as a body vote on when we vote on our budgets, but at least it provides the initial directive to the administration to keep that in mind and not jeopardize any core government functions when allocating funds to this in the future. These 8 sections represent significant additions that strengthen the legislation and improve accountability. And at the end of the day, mental health care, substance abuse, and fiscal responsibility go hand in hand. And we can expand access to treatment while also protecting taxpayers by establishing strong oversight, transparency, accountability, and performance measures from the very beginning, setting this up for success. We give this facility the greatest opportunity to succeed and serve our residents effectively for years to come. And with that, I will be recognizing first you, Mayor, but I'd like to, at this time, move item 14A1 and its substitute.
Second.
It's been moved, it's been seconded by Commissioner Regalado. Madam Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Well, I am so heartened by the extraordinary recognition of the importance of mental health to this community. We have seen an unprecedented outpouring of public support and sentiment to serve the needs of mental health patients. We all are in need of mental health services. And in fact, you might not know, but we are the largest stigma-free enterprise in the entire country and the only public jurisdiction to declare our government stigma-free. And we've been working very diligently to address those issues with our own employees, especially those who are constantly on the front line, our first responders. And as you know, we resolved the oversight, federal oversight of our jails largely because of our commitment to the mental health needs of people in our facilities. With that to be said, we all do owe a great debt of gratitude to Judge Steve Leifman, who has made this his life's work.
All right, guys, moving forward, we're going to do the...
Yeah, we're going to go back to the waves.
I let the first one slide because it was warranted, of course.
Yes. So I want to underscore that this was, as you've said, more than 20 years in the making, and it was dead on arrival when I came to the mayor's office. So I made it my priority to move it forward with the support of our judiciary, our law enforcement, and gratefully to the sponsorship of Commissioner Regalado to move this item forward. Now, through your leadership, Mr. Chair, we've added additional caveats and protections that enhance the item, and we're grateful for that. I personally have worked in the field of forensic psychology in mental health facilities, in jails where inmates with mental illness were served, and I have very personal experience with this population and am very, very excited about finally launching this program. I do want you to know that so many worked on it, and you thanked so many. Hard work from my mayor's office team went into this. Brenda Newman, who is our Chief Integrity Officer, Kathy Burgos, now our Director of Community Services Department, Chief Arnold Palmer most recently, and so many others in my office and this department worked almost 2 years to negotiate these deals. So this was not an easy situation by any means. We, of course, lean heavily on Jackson. Jackson was at the table from the beginning and is still, of course, our go-to. We even have a legislative staff who worked diligently. That's Matthias Buckhalter and Eduardo Tamburell. And in my office, Leah Weston and Lorna Mejia Lopez also deserve special recognition. We've assigned Amanda Dominguez. She's a licensed mental health counselor in Community Services Department, and she will help open and guide the chapter to its next chapter. So to our two sponsors, chief sponsors, the chair and Commissioner Regalado, we say thank you. And with your vote today, which I anticipate will be in the positive, we will be marking a new era in our approach to meeting those with serious mental illness and substance abuse disorders in our community, keeping them out of jails and making sure they have the treatment to be rehabilitated and return to community life. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With that, Commissioner from District 2, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank the maker, the sponsor of this item, Commissioner Regalado. I know all the hard work that you've put to get us here, so I commend you for that. I thank you and commend you for that. Mr. Chair, thank you. I've listened to you with a lot of attention. All the amendments that you brought into this item strengthen it beyond measure. It changed it into like what we would do as a piecemeal approach to a more comprehensive approach, which really brought a lot of strength to the item. So thank you for your leadership on that. I really appreciate you and your involvement to make sure that this item moves forward and then to get us where we are today. And then to the administration, we know that it hasn't been easy. It's been years in the making, but I'm really glad that we are where we are today. And then I would like, Mr. Chair, be a co-sponsor of this item too.
Of course.
As a mental health professional, I want to reiterate that approving this facility is essential for the progress and well-being of Miami-Dade County. Far too long, our community has felt the strain of limited access to mental health services. Families looking for help often face long wait times, overcrowded emergency rooms. Families even watch sometimes their loved ones face jail time because of the limited access to mental health services, and I've known many families in this predicament doing my work as a mental health professional. Funding this facility, and I'm so glad we are here, not only addresses gaps in services, but ensures that we address with the care, compassion, accessibility, and dignity that every human being deserves, as I indicated the last time. And I'm glad to see that we all agree that the benefits are clear. We're investing in people, and then we are investing in our community. We are committing to our role as policymakers to ensure life, health, and safety for this community. I want to thank you again, Mr. Chair, for bringing this item, for strengthening it. It's structured to ensure that we can sharpen our pencils and reduce costs if the opportunity arises. Colleagues, we all know that we needed this, and I'm glad to see the end of the road, finally. Thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, and I skipped, I'm gonna add you guys now. I skipped the actual pooling commissioner, so Commissioner from District 8, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure all of our colleagues are going to speak on this item, and thank you for recognizing me. I do think, and I pulled it because I wanted to make sure that the item received the attention that, frankly, it deserves. I think that this is a historic day in Miami-Dade County, and I think it's worth noting, as a number of our colleagues have done, and I want to take a moment to do as well, the journey that it took us to get where we are today. And it was somewhat of a tumultuous journey, unfortunately, but here we are. And I say unfortunately because throughout the process of molding this item and getting it to a place where a number of our colleagues felt a level of comfort, there were a number of us that were charged with leading the opposition to mental health, and that could not have been farther from the truth. We were leading accountability for mental health, and I think that's fully displayed in this item that is before the board today. And I want to thank my colleagues for asking the tough questions when we did, and asking about the numbers, and asking how this was going to get paid for, not to create delay tactics, but to ensure the success of this facility, because so many of us have had experiences with mental health, and we've heard about a number of them here on the dais. We've heard about the Lindas that the commissioner from District 5 has spoken about, and we've heard about Commissioner Gilbert speaking about his family member and so on and so forth. But I'll share a story. When I first joined the commission, I met with Kathy Burgos, and she shared with me her department and the services that she provides. And her department are going to be charged with operating this facility. And I shared a story with them about a family member of my own, a very close family member, that cycled in and out of our criminal justice system as a young man, undocumented immigrant. And unfortunately, we lost him to substance abuse a few years ago, and that was my brother. And I share that story with you because for me, and I've always said this is very personal, because I will never forget calling Miami-Dade County and saying, we need help. We don't know where to send him. And he lost his battle with substance abuse and mental health. And so when we, as a body, get attacked and criticized for trying to do the best for our residents, understand that there may be other intentions at play. Understand that we may be actually trying to make sure that the very vulnerable mental health patients that are going to be admitted into this facility are not just people that we see on the news. They are our family members. And so I am grateful to the entire commission, including the initial sponsoring commissioner. I am grateful to our chairman, and I am grateful to everyone, including our administration, including, of course, Judge Leifman, for making this your life work. You have made this your life work for people like my brother. And so I am grateful to you because at this juncture, I feel much greater confidence that we now will open a facility that is set up for success because it's what our residents deserve. And so, again, I extend the greatest level of gratitude to our administration, to all involved, and I am proud of the item that is before the board today. Yes, we will have very difficult financial decisions to make in 3 years. I believe that we will be prepared to make those very difficult financial decisions, and we will cross that road when we get there. But this is an item that ensures the success of this very, very much needed mental health facility in Miami-Dade County. And I'm proud of the process that we've taken to get here today. And I hope that I will be accepted as a co-sponsor. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for sharing that personal story with us. I will recognize now, I have in line the Commissioner from District 5, but I want to add, and I should have said this earlier, but I want to thank my co-chairs for our intergovernmental committee, both Co-Chair Lopez and Chair Orbis, and all the members that sit on that committee. I know that includes, you all know who you are, because if it wasn't for your tough questions and what could have been posed or was posed in the news as stalling or moving the goalpost, we wouldn't be here today with this more perfected item. So thank you for all your hard work in that committee and for bringing us to this point as well. With that, Commissioner from District 5, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start out by thanking you for having led the charge, starting out when I requested a committee, a commission as a whole discussion on this. I think it really started to change the face of this issue. It allowed all of us to come together and to really talk about this issue in a way that we hadn't been able to do beforehand. And I believe that that was sort of what lit the switch for you to really grab the bull by the horns and listen to what we were all saying. And so I'm grateful that you have brought this item forward. Grateful to Commissioner Regalado for her leadership, in having brought it as far as she did. And I am also grateful to the four horsemen of my committee, and that is my co-chair and Commissioner Gonzalez and Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, who did their job, as you asked us to do in committee. And today, I think we have a wonderful item before us with a lot of accountability and a lot of safeguards. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank my good partner, Judge Leifman. Judge, you and I started this long before the 20 years. I hate to tell everybody. You and I were working on this issue shortly after I was working with Governor Bush as the chairman of the ex-offender task force. And one of the things that we discovered, obviously, through your testimony to that task force was that people were languishing in jails that didn't belong there. And I can recall so clearly the 60-minute expose of our jail and feeling frightened by the fact that people weren't really getting better. They were just cycling through the system. And you made it your life's work to remedy that in a way that today you will see the fruits of that incredible labor. And to the administration and to the mayor, who was actually early on a partner of the governor's ex-offender task force when she was leading the Human Services Coalition. And so it's really been a partnership of many people. And to the members of PACT, I've told you when I came to your meeting, your voices matter, your experiences matter. And I think, today we heard a little bit about my constituent, Caitlin, who was assaulted in broad daylight at 10:45 in the morning in my district. And had it not been for a good Samaritan, Cassius, a gentleman who stepped in to save that woman from the attack, she might not be alive to tell her story today. But that particular assailant was mentally ill, was homeless, had cycled through the system. And I can't help but think that this wouldn't have happened had the assailant been brought through some sort of treatment, first a crisis intervention and then a treatment. And you're right, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, not only am I concerned about Linda, who, by the way, I want you to know is doing very well. She's in her own housing unit in, I believe it's Cutler Bay. And, that she's an example of what can happen to a woman who's been on the street for 20 years, cycling in and out of our justice system. But we have to do more, and we have to do better. And I think that this is just a start, and I know Judge Leifman's heard me say this. It's not a pilot. It's not. It is a solution, and we are obligated, just by the very nature of our role as government officials, to provide services for the most vulnerable in our community, and clearly those that are mentally ill and are homeless, or both, is an important part of the role that we play as commissioners. We must support it, but we must say out loud that it's not a pilot. It will be here forever and ever, amen, as part of the big solution of the problems that we are facing with the mentally ill. And, like Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, my sister had substance abuse issues. Gratefully, she got the help that she needed. But you're right, Chairman. There is no question that we ought to be talking about those that have substance abuse issues, because it's two sides of the same coin. If you have a substance abuse issue, you probably are suffering from a co-occurring disorder that is somehow brought you to that point. And I, of course, did not have the terrible tragedy that Commissioner Cohen-Higgins had by losing her brother. My sister's fine and sober after 20 years, but continues to receive treatment for mental health issues that she suffers. And she's the first one to admit it, because you're right, Mayor, we should have no stigma surrounding mental illness. I can't imagine a family who hasn't already experienced it in one way or the other. So this is a start to a huge solution in our community, and certainly I know in my very dense urban area, I have more than 100 Lindas who live on the street, and seeing much more of it occur. And we heard someone testify this morning, you ought to come to Brickell now, where we're seeing more of this, which is something we never saw before. It was very isolated in the downtown area, but it is now clearly moving into another area, and we should hope and pray that there will be no more Caitlins. But as I said to Caitlin, your story, as unfortunate as it is, and how brave she has been to tell it, is going a long way in making sure that no one else experiences what Caitlin did. So kudos to everyone that worked hard on this issue, and I'm really grateful to see it finally come home and in for a landing. Thank you.
Thank you again, Commissioner, for all your leadership during these negotiations. Commissioner from District 11 is next on my list, but I don't see him. So you may be I'll have the vice chair, the 11, and then I could add you to the list as well. Commissioner from District 11, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, man, I just want to say I'm so happy we're here. I'm so happy we're here because this is bigger than one facility, okay? This is what America needs. Because what we're seeing right now is we're seeing unity. This is not a left thing. It's not a right thing. It's just a good thing to do. And Judge, you know this has been a mountain to climb. And I want to talk about how we got here, because it hasn't been easy. But many times, the things that are the most difficult to accomplish are the things that are most worth doing. Some of our most vulnerable residents are living with serious mental illness and addiction, cycling between the streets, emergency rooms, and jail cells. A society is judged not by how it treats the strong, but by whether it extends a helping hand to those who cannot help themselves. I believe many of us on this dais share the same expectation when it comes to taxpayer dollars and accountability. And today, we're able to see the compassion and fiscal responsibility come together for a good thing. Chairman, not enough has been said about your leadership on this. And I know you're trying to be modest, but Chairman Rodriguez's proposal strengthens oversight, measures, outcomes, and requires us to evaluate whether this investment is actually improving lives and reducing pressure on our public systems. Extremely important. And I don't think this would have been able to move forward were it not for these amendments. Not because it wasn't the right thing to do, but because these amendments were necessary. Judge, I'm sure that you've read the book of Esther. I firmly believe that you have been chosen for such a time as this. I firmly believe that this is going to be historic. And I firmly believe that you're going to appreciate the fact that it was difficult to achieve. I have to admit, one of the greatest masterpieces of the 20th century is Rocky III. And if you've seen Rocky III, you will remember that Rocky is already a champion. He's already the greatest of all time. And his strategist, Mickey, passes away. Rocky's already pound for pound the greatest boxer in the world at that time. But he goes into a fight and doesn't have the guidance that he needs in order to achieve the championship. And so he loses to Clubber Lang, who is played by Mr. T. Then, Apollo Creed, so for you young people watching the Creed movies, Apollo is the father. Apollo Creed comes in and he trains Rocky. And Rocky comes back and he easily wins and becomes the champion. And the reason I say that is because were it not for the leadership that Chairman Rodriguez has shown as the Apollo Creed of this commission, we wouldn't have been able to get here. And I know you're saying it's a lot, Mr. Chairman, but specifically, it provides independent clinical review by Jackson, tracking of concrete performance measures, return on investment reporting, oversight by the Behavioral Health Advisory Board, review of the Homeless Trust participation, an expedited process for procuring outpatient services and protections so that funding this project does not come to at an expense of core county services such as public safety, parks, and roads. This is important because, Judge Leifman, you're not a lobbyist, man, right? You're not a lobbyist. You're also not a legislator. You're a good man trying to do a good thing. And today, the strategy with the experience and champion mentality came together. And you have my commitment that I will continue to work with you because, man, we worked hard, especially you. But I will continue to work with you to make sure that the funding is always there. We will go together if you'll have me. We will go together to DC. We will go together to the state. But we will make sure that this moves forward. And that is exactly what I feel everybody on this commission wanted from day one. That it was fiscally responsible and prudent, but that it started so that it can change the trajectory of how mental health is treated in the entire nation and that it doesn't stop. And I believe that with these parameters, it's not going to stop. It's going to be able to continue. These protections offer the transparency and accountability which taxpayers in Miami-Dade County deserve and which, quite frankly, were absent in the original proposal. We should be willing to invest, but we should never stop asking whether the funding source is actually working. Now, finally, one of the lessons emerging from communities across the country is that not every challenge can be solved with the same set of tools. A smaller population with more complex needs often requires a more specialized response. This proposal recognizes that reality and offers a thoughtful, targeted approach that meets people where they are while demanding responsibility from all of us entrusted with stewarding public resources. I believe that we're living history right now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner from District 7, you're recognized. Yogo?
Mickey?
No, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't know it was coming with a soundtrack, but thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to echo some of the mayor's comments about all the staff that has worked on this. Obviously, Judge Steve Leifman has been amazing. He has the patience of Job. As the mayor mentioned, this was not easy when we started working on it, and we've come very far. And I want to thank you all for your support. I know that there were moments that were difficult, but I truly believe that leadership is about creating consensus, not gauging it. So I think that today is a wonderful day. I congratulate you, Judge Leifman, and everyone that worked on this. All the hours that staff put in, including mine, I'm not even going to tally it, how much time we spent on this. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for getting us to this point. And I look forward to a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Commissioner. Vice Chairman. All right, Commissioner from District 4, for your one-liner.
She's gonna hold it against me.
Yeah, for your one-liner. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, I was just going to say even Rocky needed a Mickey in his corner. All right, but
Man, that was cute. You know what?
but I was good. Okay.
I gotta get a hug.
All right. So if that doesn't give us hope for tomorrow, I don't know what does. No, but I just want to thank everybody for getting us to this point, and it does fill me up with hope for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be very brief. Listen to everyone who had a hand in this. This is huge. I'll say it now, and I'll say it again. We're going to pass hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of legislation from this dais. But I do honestly believe this is going to be one of those most consequential ones that we'll be able to look back on and identify that moment and that memory that actually gave birth to something that so many people in this community definitely need. Secondly, let me just say this. My favorite line in life is, bear one another's burden. And that encompasses pretty much everything I believe in, everything I stand upon. And Judge Leifman, let me just say to you publicly, you're the epitome of that statement. You and your team, you have shown us exactly what it means to bear one another's burdens. You have taken this head on. You have shown us exactly how to do it with grace, even under pressure and even under fire. And you've done it in a way that makes all of us proud. Thirdly, let me just say this. As it relates to mental health, I've had a front row seat in this area all my life. As a matter of fact, the kids who I grew up with, students in my class that I'm articulated throughout school with, many of us were labeled with mental health issues. And we were able to find ways not only to deal with them, but to live with them. And in the process, what I've learned is that even when I became a prosecutor, those issues never left those kids, young men and young women who I've had the opportunity to live with growing up, either in the classrooms or on the streets. And what I found out is those issues don't go away. They don't. Those issues are managed. And if they're managed properly, they help us become productive citizens, especially of this great county. And what your fight has shown us, and your partnerships with so many different people, including the Homeless Trust, Ron Book, and the team, is that our investment should always be into human infrastructure. And human infrastructure is totally different than everything else we're ever going to vote on. Because human infrastructure also includes the quality of life that we must deal with and we must understand and we must appreciate. And when we do that in a way that makes sense to the public, it saves all of us, not just the tears, not just the money, not just the time, not just the love. But you know what else it saves? It saves those people who are my family members and friends, myself. It saves us from the humiliation that comes with it. Because for some reason, it appears that our society has yet to come to grips that all of us, whether we admit it or not, we all have to come to grips with that we suffer and we deal with our mental health issues differently. And there are just some people out there who now, in order to deal with their mental health issues, they couple that with drug use. And when you couple that with drug use, you get what they call, in the medical terms, a dual diagnosis. And those are the individuals who I believe this particular facility will help more than anything. It's because instead of us now punishing those who have a substance abuse problem, we are now able to directly, not indirectly, but directly, deal with the issue in front of us. And that is their coping mechanism as it relates to their mental health issues that they're facing. I'll close by simply saying this, and again, I said it earlier, this is probably going to be one of the best pieces of legislation I'm ever going to vote on as a legislator here, i.e. a commissioner. It is a celebratory moment when everyone, I mean everyone, comes to agree that not only is mental health important for this nation, but it's also important for those of us who have a hand into ensuring that this discussion doesn't get swept under the rug. And the reason being because there is probably a 5-year-old kid out there or a 6-year-old kid who's about to be labeled with a mental illness or a mental health issue. They're either going to label them emotionally handicapped, severely disturbed, and even worse. And the families just don't know what to do. Or they just don't have the financial resources to really deal with the issue in front of them. Or they just may not have been educated enough on how to deal with the prognosis and diagnosis that comes with having these particular labels. You're giving them an opportunity to see that the county does and in fact care about their families. And so that's why I am fully in support of this, not because of, again,